You know that sound? The horrible crunch of metal in a car crash? That's just the start. The real chaos? It usually kicks off with a phone call from an insurance adjuster. But what if you could see the whole thing differently? Not through a fog of stress and confusion, but with the clear, strategic vision of a lawyer. Well, that's what we're going to do. We're about to pull back the curtain and show you their playbook. And right here, this is the trap. It's the critical mistake that can quietly drain the value from your claim before you even get the first medical bill. You're trying to be reasonable, right? You say something innocent like, "Oh, I'm just a little stiff, but I think I'll be fine." And boom, that's recorded. And later, it'll get twisted to argue your injuries aren't a big deal. It's a professional move, and they use it every single day. Think of it like this. You and a lawyer are watching two completely different movies of the same event. For you, it's all flashing lights, stress, and chaos. But for a lawyer, it's a timeline. It's about legal deadlines, it's spotting the gaps in the police report, it's finding those little points of leverage in a negotiation. Understanding this huge difference in perspective is the absolute first step to taking back control. Okay, so let's make this personal for a second. Just take a quick look at this checklist. If you find yourself nodding your head and saying yes to even two of these, that's a signal, a big one. According to the experts, it's time to at least talk to someone who knows the game. These aren't just little details. They're giant red flags that your claim is way more complicated than you think. So we've got these two totally different ways of looking at a crash, right? Now, let's dive into our first section. We're going to shift gears here. We're going to transform that emotional, panicked moment of the crash into a logical, step-by-step process, the claim. And this is absolutely crucial. The second you stop seeing this as a friendly chat and start seeing it for what it is, a series of deliberate steps, like collecting evidence, getting treatment, making a demand, that's when everything changes. You stop just reacting to what they throw at you, and you start making your own moves with a real purpose. That mindset shift is what turns panic into a plan. Okay, so it's a process. Great, but what does that process actually look like? Well, it turns out that lawyers build pretty much every strong claim on the exact same foundation. It all comes down to three core pillars. Let's break them down. Seriously, from day one, these are the only three questions that really matter. First, what can we prove with cold, hard evidence? Second, where is the money actually going to come from? And third, what did this crash truly cost you? Not just in bills, but in lost time and the impact on your actual life. This simple framework is how you bring order to the chaos. So for that first pillar, evidence, the goal is just to grab what you can, right away. It's about speed, not perfection. There's this great story about a messy, blurry photo that someone almost deleted. But hidden in that photo was a tiny imprint on a bumper that became the key piece of evidence proving exactly how the cars hit. So yeah, that shaky picture you took on your phone at the scene, it could be absolute gold. Now for pillar two, mapping out the coverage. You could also call this finding the money. This is where a good lawyer goes on a treasure hunt. They don't just stop at the other driver's policy, no way. They dig into your own policy, looking for things like underinsured motorist coverage, medical benefits, and even policies of other people in your house. It's a strategy called stacking, and it can completely change how much money is available. And finally, pillar three, telling the story of your damages. And look, this is so much more than just a pile of bills. Think of it like a simple formula. You've got your economic losses, the bills, the lost paychecks, the easy stuff to count, but then you add your non-economic losses, the real-life impact, the vacation you had to cancel, not being able to go to the gym, not being able to pick up your kids. That's not just an inconvenience, it's a documented life change, and it has real value. So you've done the hard work. You've built your foundation with those three pillars: evidence, coverage, and damages. Now the game changes. You're not on defense anymore, just reacting to the insurance company. With all that preparation, you're ready to start playing the negotiation game on your terms. But first, let's just manage expectations here. A serious claim is not a quick trip to the ATM. This timeline shows you exactly why. All those months that might feel quiet, that's when the real strategic work is happening. You're documenting medical care, building the full story of your damages, and getting ready for a serious negotiation. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and every single step is about building leverage. And this chart shows you where all that prep work pays off. When a lawyer sends a formal demand letter, it's not just a list of your bills. It's a whole strategic package, stuffed with evidence, medical records, legal arguments, everything. And it completely flips the power dynamic. Suddenly, the conversation isn't about their lowball offer anymore. It's anchored to your number. This is how you take control.
So, what happens if the negotiation just stalls out? You get to a major fork in the road: settle or sue. And it's so important to see this as the next strategic move, not a failure. It's a calculated choice, right? You're weighing a guaranteed, reasonable offer now against the potential for more later, but that comes with the time, cost, and stress of a lawsuit. A good lawyer will help you weigh the pros and cons, but they won't make the decision for you.
All right, so now you've seen the whole strategy, from the crash scene all the way to the negotiating table. Let's boil it all down. We're going to distill this entire playbook into 7 simple, powerful lessons. These are the small moves that make the biggest difference in the end. First up, and this one might just be the most important, it's about the one thing you can never get back. You know what? We hesitate, we want to be polite, or we think, I'll just wait and see how I feel. That is a huge mistake. All you're doing is giving the insurance company a head start to control the whole story. Every single word you say to them in those first 72 hours can have a massive impact. Because while you're at home recovering, their adjuster is already building a case against you. Okay, lesson number 2. The notes you take after the crash are way more than just a personal record. That simple journal where you're jotting down your pain levels, the work shifts you missed, the family plans you had to cancel, that's not just you venting, that is raw data. For a lawyer, those details are the building blocks for what's called non-economic damages. They prove the real-world impact of the crash and can directly increase the value of your claim. And the third key takeaway is a big one. Right after a crash, there's no such thing as a small injury. That stiff neck you're feeling on day 2, that could easily turn into months of physical therapy. If you get it documented by a doctor right away, the connection to the crash is undeniable. But if you wait, you've just handed the insurance company the perfect excuse to argue that it must have happened somewhere else, and then they can deny that whole part of your claim. And let's fly through the last 4. Number 4, be nosy about your insurance. Ask about every single coverage you have. You might be paying for protection you completely forgot about. 5, let your lawyer be the difficult one. That's their job. Let them push back and talk numbers so you can focus on healing. 6, respect the timeline. It can feel slow, I know, but that time is being used to build leverage for a better result. And finally, number 7, always, always, always think in terms of the net amount, what you actually keep after fees and costs. That's the only number that truly matters. So here's the bottom line. The moment a crash happens, a claim process begins. A game starts. And by default, the insurance adjuster's strategy is the only one in play. What we've shown you is that there's another path, another playbook. So the only real question left is, who's going to be running the strategy for your claim? Your financial recovery really depends on the answer.